welcome to the next edition of the BriefingsDirect Voice of the Customer podcast series. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator for this ongoing discussion on digital transformation success stories. Our next hybrid IT management strategies discussion explores how a European gaming company adopted cloud and hybrid cloud infrastructure resources with developer productivity as a prime motivator. We'll now learn how Magellan Robotech put an emphasis on management and control as a means to best access hybrid cloud services that rapidly bring new architecture and infrastructure resources to its developers. Here to reveal the journey to responsible cloud adoption with impressive payoffs, we're joined by Graham Banner. He's head of IT operations at Magellan Robotech in Liverpool, England. Welcome, Graham.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're glad you're here. Raj Mistry also joins us. He's go-to-market lead for OneSphere at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and he's based in Manchester, England. Welcome, sir.
Good to be here.
Let's start at the top. What are some of the drivers in your organization for rapid cloud adoption, and how do you get that from spinning out of control, Graham?
That's a great question, and it's been a challenge for us. So one of the main problems we have as a business is the aggressive marketplace in Europe. It's very essential that we're able to deliver services rapidly. Now, some of our competitors might be able to deliver something in a month. We need to undercut them because the competition is so fierce. So going from on-premise into virtualization on on-premise cloud, this was our first step, but it wasn't enough. We needed to do more.
Speed is essential, but if you jump into something, perhaps you run risks. What are some of the risks that you're trying to avoid?
Oh, first thing we want to avoid is shadow IT. We've had capabilities before where the infrastructure team wasn't able to provision services that supported our developers in a fast enough manner, and we learned that they were doing their own thing, where there was no governance, there was no control over what they were doing, and that was a risk for us.
Mm-hmm. And speed is essential, but quality of those applications, particularly when you're going to a consumer end-user endpoint, how do you also bring quality control issues to bear when you've got cloud activities?
That's been a challenge for us as well. There hasn't traditionally been a central pane of management for multiple cloud interfaces that we could ensure that the correct policies are being applied to services. So we needed to look for a product that could offer this to us to ensure that we delivered quality services throughout our estate to our customers across Europe.
Mm-hmm. Raj, are you seeing that the developer focus for cloud adoption is one of the main drivers for your business where OneSphere is being evaluated?
Yeah, absolutely. The reason OneSphere is so good for the developers is we describe it as a non-opinionated platform which enables developers to use the tools and frameworks that they're accustomed to, but then under the safety and governance of IT operations, so they can deploy at speed but have safe, secure access to the resources that they need when they need them.
Mm-hmm. Developers probably want self-service more than anyone. Is it possible to give them self-service to spin up instances of development, test, different run times, but using tools that sort of keeps that from being completely off the ranch, so to speak? Yeah,
so some developers like the self-service element of them. Some developers like to use the native APIs, and that's the beauty of OneSphere. It addresses both those requirements for the developer. So use the straight native tools, or if you like, the self-service capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Now, we also have to consider the operators. So when we think about where those applications are going to end up, could be on-prem, it could be in some number of clouds, multi-cloud. Is there some opportunity for the product to come to their rescue as well?
Absolutely. What OneSphere really is geared at is it's very much application-centric. So the ability to put the right workload in the right cloud at the right cost. Together, then, the ability to understand what that workload is doing, and based on data and insights we collect, you can then make informed decisions on what to do next.
Mm-hmm. So, Graham, you're on the operations side. You got to keep your developers happy, but you also have to keep the trains running on time. What is it about OneSphere that's made that operations factor something that's been beneficial?
The first thing it's done is provided great insights and reporting features into our estate. So when we initially deployed it, feedback was almost instantaneous. We could see where our environments were, we could see their workloads, we could see the costs. And this is something that we did not have before. We didn't have this function. And other solutions have come in place, but they were very complicated to install. This was a very simple install procedure. Once it was up and running, everything rolled out smoothly in a matter of hours, and we've never seen a product do this before.
Is it fair to say that having this management capability and monitoring capability in place has given you confidence to adopt multi-cloud in ways that you may not have been willing to do before?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the challenges we'd faced before was we were traditionally on-premise for the entire estate, and the developers have been wanting to use and leverage functions that are only available in public cloud. But we have a small operations team. We were wary about spending too much time training our staff in the multiple public cloud platforms. So what OneSphere did for us was it enabled us to onboard multiple clouds in a very, very smooth way, and people could use it with very little training. The UI was fantastic to use. It was very intuitive. Line of business staff members, compliance and directors could go on and run reports straight away. It ticked all the boxes that we needed it to do.
All right, so getting to the train on time, that's important, but the cost of the trip is also important. Is there some aspects here where you've been able to have control or a sense of your own destiny when it comes to the costs over time amid all these different clouds?
It is. So one great feature that OneSphere has is the ability for you to input values in how much your on-premise resources are costing. Now we have OPEX models, we have a CAPEX model for our spend. We didn't have real-time feedback on what different environments we're using over our shared infrastructure. So getting these benefits, getting this information back from OneSphere was essential for us, so we could look at some products and say, hey, you know what, this is actually costing X amount of money. If we move it into another platform or another service provider, we'd actually save cost. And again, these are the kind of insights that are generated that we did not have before.
Now, I like to think that economics trumps technology, because ultimately it's the people that pay the bills that will have the final say in what gets purchased and used, despite the wishes of many of the others in the organization. If that's the case, that economics trumps the technology, are you seeing in the market, Raj, the opportunity to demonstrate an ROI? I know OneSphere has only been in the market a short time, but do you have an economic payoff schedule that you can provide people?
It's one of the aims that we'll build into the functionality of the platform in the not too distant future is the what if analysis, really, in terms of I've got a workload, these are its characteristics, these are its requirements, where should I place it? What's best for that actual thing? And then having that ability to kind of like determine actually which platform or hyperscale provider or even your private cloud has the correct set of features for that application. So that will come in the not too distant future, Dana. Yeah.
So in order to understand your situation when it comes to picking the right cloud adoption process, tools, methodologies, I'd like to know a little bit more about your organization. Tell us about Magellan Robotech and why application quality, speed, and ultimately your operational integrity are so important.
Okay, so we operate in Europe, and we provide a lot of services to our customers throughout different European jurisdictions. We offer virtual gaming, we offer sports, we offer terminals and casino products and integrations to other providers, which is a unique thing for a bookmaking company to have. A lot of them just operate retail platforms maybe, or maybe an online presence. We do everything in one go. Because we're competing with so many other departments, it's absolutely essential that our applications are stable, scalable, very little downtime. In fact, I'd say almost zero downtime if possible. And the way we've been working with this is if we don't meet these requirements, we're not going to get values, we're not going to be able to compete with our competitors, and our customers are essentially going to move elsewhere. Now, as a service provider as well, where we're selling all these products to alternate vendors, we have to make sure that the customer, our customer, is receiving their own customers. We want to make sure that our customers have got these value adds as well. And this is where OneSphere comes into play for us.
Mm-hmm. So as the third largest gaming enterprise in Europe, you're in multiple markets, but that means multiple jurisdictions, multiple laws about privacy. Tell us a little about your security, compliance issues, and how you can use different cloud operational, setup to help conquer that, and also maybe how OneSphere comes to bear on managing this complexity across different jurisdictions.
Sure. So we deal with several regulatory bodies across Europe, and nearly all of them have different compliance reasons and standards that have to be applied to products. It's unreasonable for us to expect the developers to know in which particular country which standards have to be applied. The current process we go through is very manual. We have to submit applications, we have to spin up machines on-premise, we have to have them audited by a third party, we have to have them audited by a government body from that country, and this process can take months. This is a long, arduous process for us to just release a product somewhere. So we needed a tool, really, that would give us an overview of what is actually available out there, what policies need to be applied to all of our services, And if something we were doing, if there was 3 red lines, we couldn't do X things, how long is that going to take for us to solve those problems and we can release these services? Now, in future releases of OneSphere, we've had some great insights into what's coming in regards to compliance and policies. There's going to be governance panes, there's going to be abilities for line of business staff members to come in and assign policies to various different cloud providers. And we can take this information and we can show this to the developers, and they can decide, you know what, for us to go live in this particular country, we have to assign these various policies, we're going to need to change our code. And this means our time to market and time to value are going to be much higher.
Raj, how important is this ability to go into different jurisdictions? I know there's another part of HPE called Cloud 28 Plus, and they're part of a way of getting into different discrete markets and working with an ecosystem of providers. How much of a requirement is this that you're seeing in the market for this ability to deal with multiple jurisdictions?
It's very complex. It's one of the evolving challenges that customers face as they adopt a hybrid or a multi-cloud strategy is how do I maintain my risk posture and my compliance. So the IP that we'll build into the platform, which will be available from around the August timeframe onwards, allows customers to look at their typical frameworks, FIPS, HIPAA, GDPR, FCA, etc., understand not just from a process perspective, but from a coding perspective, what needs to occur. Guidelines are provided to the developers. Applications can be deployed based on those, and then we'll continually monitor that application. If there's a change in the framework that they need to comply to, the line of business teams and the IT ops teams will get a nudge from the system saying there's something happened here, and you're either okay, please continue, or there's a risk, you've been made aware of it, and now you need to take some action to resolve it. And that's really key. I don't think anybody else in the market will do that. Yeah.
Graham, you're in a proof of concept stage. It sounds like you're going to be moving to a wider adoption pattern for OneSphere. But is it too soon to get a sense of some of the payback, some of the metrics? When you go to your superiors and you say, I want budget to go further with this, what are you going to tell them that will free up those monies that make this so compelling?
So fortunately, during the proof of concept, we managed to get some metrics back on this already. We'd set down some guidelines and some aims for us to achieve during this process. I can give you an example right now. So traditionally, we had a very old-fashioned ticket system when resources were required by apps and developers and our customers. They send in a ticket, they could wait for up to 5 days for the service to be available, then the developer or the customer can start using that particular service. With OneSphere and with the self-service function which we gave out, we found out this time was no longer days, it was no longer hours, it was minutes. This enabled the developers to quickly spin up machines. They can do iterative testing, they can get their products live, functioning, bug-free faster. It frees up operational time so we can concentrate on upgrading our platform and various other projects that are going on. We've already seen a massive value in this product, and when we've already spoken to the line of business about this, they've been pleased and they've seen the benefits already.
Obviously, Raj, you want to go into a market with a sharp tip on your arrow to get deeper into accounts. What is it that you're seeing gets the most traction when you're maybe going into a cold call situation? What is it that people really perk up to when it comes to what OneSphere can do?
It's the cost analytics and governance element. Deployment is a thing of the past. It's once you've deployed it, how do you know what's going on? How do you know what to do next? And that's the challenge and the problem we're trying to resolve, and that's what's resonating well with customers, really. It's that whole, let me give you insights, let's give me data, and then you can then do something about it and take action. That's the biggest thing about it. Yeah.
And there's more to this than just a tool set, more than just a product. It seems like services are also a big part of that. So we've heard recently that GreenLake Hybrid Cloud, services to manage cloud as a service, plus professional type services come together. So what is it about the combination of product and support services and methodologies that are also helping to bring this to market?
So it's the guidance, application transformations as people go digital. Writing the new cloud native stuff is easy. But like with Graham's organizations and many organizations we talk to, they have a cloud hosted, cloud aware application debt that they need to be able to transform to make it more digitally friendly. So from a services perspective, we can guide customers in terms of what they should do and how they would maybe introduce microservices, introduce more cloud native ways of working. Beyond that, it's helping with cultural stuff, so the beginnings of Agile leading to dare I say, a DevOpsy type world in the not too distant future. The other side of it is the ability to build minimal viable clouds, both in the private clouds and the public clouds, with the IP that we have with some of the acquisitions. So the real thing is the cloud thing can be hard, but our efforts really are to make it really easy.
Boy, that really strikes me as a huge next chapter, is that minimally viable cloud. Is that something that is attractive to you all?
Absolutely, yeah. So from an on-premise point perspective, we want to go forward into the public cloud. We know we can leverage its services, but one thing we're very wary of is the cost. Traditionally, it's been expensive. Things have changed. We don't want to make sure we're not provisioning services that aren't being used. So having these metrics back from us is going to make us make the right choices when we deploy services in the future.
Mm-hmm. All right, before we sign off, let's look into the crystal ball a little bit. Going to the future, Graham, as a consumer, what would you like to see in not necessarily just OneSphere, but in cloud management, monitoring, and analytics in general? What's the next list of requirements that you'd like to see fulfilled?
I'd say the next step, but we already have the single pane of glass now with OneSphere, so we can look at all our different clouds in one thing. We don't have to go in multiple consoles and spend time learning and training how to get these reports from 3 or 4 different providers. So we've got the core is there. What we do know is that public cloud and private cloud have different functionalities. On-premise can do certain things extremely well. It can handle all our current workloads. Public cloud can do this, and there's loads of additional features available. What we'd like to see is maybe a transition where some of these core functionalities of public cloud are maybe taken, managed somehow, and then applied to our private cloud as well. There are compliance reasons why we can't move all of our products into the public cloud, but by merging them together, you get a much more agnostic point of view of where you're going to deploy your services and what features you have.
So ultimately, it might even be invisible to you as to whether it's in a public or private cloud architecture. You want your requirements met, you want your compliance and security issues met, and let the automation of the underlying tool to take over.
Absolutely, yeah. We'd like to abstract away the location completely from our developers and our application guys. So when they deploy, it gets put in the right place automatically. It's got the right policies assigned to it. It's in the right location. It can provide the services needed. It can scale. It can auto-balance. All of this stuff. The end user from us, our applications team, they don't need to know which cloud it's in. They just want to be able to use it and produce the best services possible.
Great. All right, Raj, you heard what the market's asking for. I know you can't pre-announce, but maybe you could give us a sense of what you see next for providers of cloud monitoring and management capabilities.
Okay, moving forwards, if I had my crystal ball, our focus will be around customizable cloud reporting. So the ability to report back on specific things via all the providers. Moving forwards, we'll have trending capability. The what if for the forecasting capability from an analytics and insights perspective, and then we'll build more on the compliance and governance, really, and that's where we're heading in the not too distant future. And if our developers do well, we'll have that by the end of the year.
Well, there it is. I hope they're using OneSphere, right? I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We've been exploring how a European gaming company adopted cloud and hybrid infrastructure resource management with developer productivity as a prime motivator. And we've heard how putting an emphasis on management and control first helps Magellan Robotech bring new infrastructure resources to its developers. So please join me in thanking our guests. We've been here with Graham Banner, Head of IT Operations at Magellan Robotech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time, Donna.
And we've also been joined by Raj Mistry, go-to-market lead for OneSphere at HPE in Manchester, England. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And a big thank you as well to our audience for joining us for this BriefingsDirect Voice of the Customer Digital Transformation Success Story. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host for this ongoing series of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise-sponsored interviews. Thanks again for listening. Please pass this along to your IT community, and do come back next time.